Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. It's Wednesday, April 9th, 2025, and these are your Unbiased Updates. President Trump's tariffs officially go into effect, and the president touts their effectiveness. This morning, how China and the European Union appear to be strategizing for what to do next. And another shakeup at the IRS, this time over so-called data sharing and immigration policy. This morning, who's out, and an in-depth look at the circumstances.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world, these are today's Unbiased Updates.
This morning, President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs on more than 100 countries around the world are officially in effect, including 104% tariffs on imports from China specifically. The impacts are already being felt around the world, with Asian and European stocks sliding. Japan's Nikkei index dipping more than 5%. It's Taiwan that led the losses in Asia as its market plunged 5.8%. Big tech manufacturers were among the biggest decliners. In Europe, Britain's FTSE 100 index fell about 1.5% as the country faces President Trump's baseline 10% tariff. Meantime, U.S. stock market futures point to continued uncertainty. Despite that, President Trump told a Republican gathering Tuesday night that his tariff plan is working.
We're making a fortune with tariffs, $2 billion a day. Do you believe it? I was told $2 billion a day. In addition, we have a lot of countries coming to see us that want to make a deal. Japan is coming here as we speak. They're in a plane flying, lots of them, all tough negotiators. But things that people wouldn't have given us 2 years ago, wouldn't have even thought of it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7, they're giving us everything. They don't want tariffs on themselves.
Japan is facing 24% tariffs, and China now says it will take resolute measures to defend its trading rights. But officials have not said how they will respond to 104% duties levied on Chinese goods. China's leader Xi Jinping has not publicly addressed the new tariffs, but Chinese state media is reporting he met with a small group of top officials to discuss how to bolster ties with China's neighbors and strengthen industrial and supply chain cooperation. That's according to the New York Times. China has already retaliated with its own levies on American products. That's what led President Trump to slap an additional 50% in tariffs on Chinese goods yesterday, bringing the total to 104%. For their part, European Union officials say they're drawing up plans to target American exports, heightening fears of an all-out trade war and a possible global recession. In a related topic, Tesla CEO and staunch Trump ally Elon Musk continues to criticize the president's tariffs. Now an inner circle feud between Musk and the president's top trade advisor, Peter Navarro, is escalating publicly, with Musk taking to his social media platform X Tuesday to say Navarro is, quote, truly a moron. It comes after Navarro told CNBC on Monday Tesla is more of a car assembler than a car manufacturer, saying the vehicles are made from parts manufactured by other countries. In a separate post, Musk claimed, quote, Tesla has the most American-made cars, calling Navarro dumber than a sack of bricks. While Tesla has dominated Cars.com's American-Made Index since 2021, based on criteria including assembly location, where the parts are made, engine origin, transmission origin, and American manufacturing workforce, Tesla is still feeling some of the impacts of President Trump's tariffs. Musk has also publicly separated from Donald Trump on tariffs, posting videos about free trade and saying he believes there should be zero tariffs between the United States and Europe. The Washington Post reported Monday that Musk also made a direct appeal to the president. More turmoil at the IRS. This time, a high-level resignation that appears to have something to do with the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration. Straight Arrow News reporter Lauren Keenan explains who's out and why now.
Melanie Krause told staff Tuesday she's leaving her position as acting IRS commissioner. Her decision comes one day after the IRS and Department of Homeland Security agreed to share immigrants' tax data with immigration authorities. Sources tell NBC News that the purpose of the immigrant tax sharing plan is to identify and deport people living in the country illegally. The data sharing agreement was signed by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Sources familiar with the matter tell CNN that ICE will give the IRS the names and addresses of taxpayers suspected of violating immigration laws, and the IRS will cross-check the data to verify its accuracy. Kraus is the third leader of the agency to resign in less than 3 months. Danny Werfel, who was IRS commissioner under the Biden administration, left on Trump's inauguration day, and his successor, Doug O'Donnell, retired in February after refusing to agree to a data sharing deal with DHS, according to CNN. A spokesperson for the Treasury Department released a statement on Kraus's resignation saying, "Melanie Kraus has been leading the IRS through a time of extraordinary change. As we focus on modernization and reorganize the agency to better serve the taxpayer, we are also in the midst of breaking down data silos that for too long have stood in the way of identifying waste, fraud, and abuse and bringing criminals to justice. We believe these goals are critical to a more efficient government and safer country. We wish Melanie well on her next endeavor." Several other senior officials with the IRS have also left the agency over the tax data sharing agreement.
That was our Lauren Keenan reporting. Immigrant rights groups have filed a lawsuit to block the data sharing arrangement, arguing it breaches trust and may discourage undocumented immigrants from paying taxes, though a judge declined to issue an emergency order. New developments in the case of Columbia University pro-Palestine anti-Israel activist Mahmoud Khalil, who's in federal custody for his role in campus protests at the university, but has not been charged with a crime. An immigration judge in Louisiana says she will dismiss the case against Khalil if the government does not provide evidence this week of why Khalil should be deported. The judge gave the Trump administration 24 hours to do so. Federal agents took Khalil into custody last month and transferred him to a detention center in Louisiana. The Department of Homeland Security ordered his deportation, alleging that his actions as a demonstrator could have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the United States. The 30-year-old activist, who was born in Syria, has legal permanent status in the United States. His supporters have been demanding his release, saying his actions at Columbia were covered by free speech. His attorney told the court he has not received a single document in request to the government for evidence and assertions in the case. Judge Jamie Comins gave the federal government until 6 p.m. Eastern tonight to present the evidence and said she will have a ruling by Friday. In the Dominican Republic, rescue workers continued their frantic search for survivors after the roof of an iconic nightclub collapsed early Tuesday, killing at least 98 people and injuring more than 100 others. Local authorities say about 300 people were inside the Jet Set nightclub in the capital of Santo Domingo when the roof came down. The catastrophe happened during a performance of merengue artist Ruby Perez and his orchestra. Perez's manager confirms the singer was among those killed. Also among the victims, 2 former Major League Baseball players, including pitcher Octavio Dotal and Tony Blanco, who was also the father of current Pittsburgh Pirates prospect Tony Blanco Jr. Finally this morning, archaeologists have discovered an ancient Egyptian tomb belonging to a mystery pharaoh. The massive limestone burial chamber was discovered in January in Abydos by archaeologists with the University of Pennsylvania's Penn Museum, along with Egyptian archaeologists. The lavish tomb's intended occupant remains a mystery. Grave robbers damaged the hieroglyphics painted on bricks at the entryway, leaving the name unreadable. The tomb also did not contain a mummy or remains that could help identify the person. However, the researchers who made the discovery say it's likely the resting place of a king who ruled Upper Egypt, get this, more than 3,600 years ago. They say the so-called Mystery King might be one of several who are notoriously missing from the traditional records of monarchs that once ruled the region. Those are your unbiased updates for this Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.